In the times when there is very little football topics to talk about, Declan Rice is hot news. You can understand why. He's West Ham's most valuable player. He's West Ham's most coveted asset. And he's an England international. Of course, clubs are going to be linked with him. Whilst we might like to think that we can offload Arthur Masuaku and the likes of him, it's really going to be players that we don't want to get rid of, like Declan Rice, who are going to attract the attention of other clubs. So, there's 3 articles, all concerning Declan Rice, all that have come out in the last, 24 hours, something like that, which I thought merited comment. This is going to run and run and run. But it's just interesting to see what you think is going to happen, because I keep changing on this. The first article of the lot, actually, let's go with the most laughable. Tottenham Hotspur could offer Eric Dier in part exchange for Declan Rice. Oh, you won't? No. Look, I'm not in charge of negotiating. Clearly, I am not on the board of directors at West Ham. I am not David Moyes. I am certainly not David Sullivan. I don't get a say in such issues. But if I had to guess, I would suggest that that's not an attractive, offer. Now, as I understand it, Tottenham can't afford Declan Rice and can't afford the amount that we would ideally want. Not that I think we would do business with Tottenham anyway, because of all the things that have been said previously. It's not a good relationship, as we know, between the two sets of directors at each club. But they can't afford him, and they don't agree with our valuation. Well, that's fine. You don't have to agree with valuation. I'm going to a shop and see something, not agree with the valuation. I don't buy it then. Or I go into a shop and I see something and I can't afford it. I don't buy it then. Why? Because I can't afford it. I basically have to buy something a little bit cheaper, or don't buy anything at all. The suggestion is that they may be willing to offer 20 million plus Eric Dier. Now, we apparently value Declan Rice upwards of 80 million. But let's say it's 70. Let's just crank it down just a little bit. That means with 20 million plus Eric Dier, they're valuing Eric Dier at 50 million. Just in your head, run through a list of players that cost 50 million before the price of players plummeted. I've got nothing against Eric Dier. Well, I don't think he's a midfielder, put it that way. He's always struck me as a centre-back. I think probably quite a good centre-back. But Alderweireld, Vertonghen, Sanchez, they got young Foyth, is it Foyth coming through? They got some good centre-backs. Now, I can understand why he may have been deployed in central midfield, Eric Dier. I haven't got a clue why he ever played in midfield for England. I just don't think he's technically good enough. And I can't see that there would be any allure to West Ham to having him on board. Would David Moyes like him? I'm not so sure. I just don't think he's a midfielder. I just don't think it's an attractive proposition. And look, clearly there's been no direct offer from Tottenham Hotspur, but it's also evident that a leak has been made to the press about it. And if they think that that is appealing to anybody, probably includes Eric Dier. Eric Dier probably don't want to leave Tottenham. Don't want to go to West Ham. He's going to get less money. Everyone's going to get less money now. So he probably wants to sit at Tottenham and pay the way and get his wages, get his full wages. I just don't think that is going to happen. It did make me laugh. It did tickle me when I saw it. Anyway, another article from a different source. Chelsea won't spend a fortune on Declan Rice. Well, hold on, we're getting a little theme here. So basically what they're saying is, we'll take him, but not for lots of money. Well, in which case, we don't need to sell. We don't need to sell anyway. Declan Rice on a long-term contract, I think, possibly with an option. Don't know. But he got 5 odd years. Something like that anyway. His wages go up incrementally each year. Not a problem. It's a slightly different story. I don't think they're not offering anybody sort of insulting in exchange. They're not offering Peter Cech. Yeah, I know he's retired, but you know what I'm saying. They're not offering Peter Cech or Winston Bogarde in exchange. They're not even saying there's an exchange. They're saying we won't spend a fortune on him. But Chelsea seem to be quite content with what they've got in midfield. we've discussed it before. Gio's discussed it before. Jorginho, Kante, Kovacic. They've got young Gilmour coming through. They've got a boy on loan at RB Leipzig, who I understand is a good player, a decent prospect. They just don't need to. They need attackers, was the gist of the story. You look at Chelsea, think, actually, yeah, you probably are. Tammy Abraham, a little bit on the raw side. Giroud, well, you know, raw, bit overdone, isn't he? But he's definitely more mutton than lamb, that's for sure. So, you think, okay, fair enough. I can see reasons why we wouldn't go there. The final one, because this is what we've heard. We have heard Chelsea, we've heard Tottenham, we've heard Manchester United. Manchester United don't have any interest in signing Declan Rice. And I agree. Don't get me wrong, I can see what Solskjaer is doing. I'm still unconvinced that Solskjaer is, well, I don't know, what should we say? You know, the next coming of Alex Ferguson, let's say. But I do think he's got an ethos, and I do think he's trying to do something there. They're signing a Daniel James. They're signing a Wan-Bissaka. The bringing forward of Mason Greenwood. I think they're all indicators of what he wants to do. Of course, he's brought forward McTominay, which would be reason enough, you'd imagine, why Manchester United would not be that interested in Declan Rice. But Manchester United are, well, they're Manchester United. They are about superstar players, aren't they? So they've got a problem. That problem is called Paul Pogba. Paul Pogba came through Manchester United's academy. They let him go on a free because he had a row with Alex Ferguson. They bought him back off Juventus for about 86 million, something like that. At the moment, he's currently winding his contract down. A very talented player. I think on their day, there ain't many better players in the world than Paul Pogba. You know, the range of passing is ridiculous. I mean, he really is a brilliant player, but he's clearly not a fully committed footballer. Certainly not fully committed to Manchester United. So I think they do have an issue in midfield. I don't think, when you look at Man United and you think of the great teams there, I don't think Fred is quite up to the standard that they want. Pogba clearly is, but we've already talked about it when he decides to turn up. Matic, again, I think he's had his best days as well, and I don't really think it fits in the model that Solskjaer wants to persevere with. Does Declan Rice? Absolutely, Declan Rice does. But as I say, they do have someone there in McTominay. And whilst McTominay might not be a superstar in the making, he's a good, steady player. And that's why I think, when you look at the Manchester United situation, and you look at the fact that they're highly pressing forward with Jude Bellingham, is the kid's name, from Birmingham, who is a fantastic player, an outstanding player. If you go and look at this, lads, and you look at his highlights, you look at his highlight reel, you look at what he was doing in the Championship before it came to a juddering halt. Outstanding player. You can clearly see that he is going to be, he's a superstar in the making. So do I believe that Manchester United have given up on Declan Rice? I think by and large I do. I think Fred has been much improved for them as well. I think there are other areas. I think they simply sorted at centre-back. They're certainly sorted at full-back. Got a lot of attackers. They seem to. Greenwood's coming through. Rashford, they've got Martial there as well. They're interested in Jadon Sancho. Again, it fits their model. Big bucks again. Big money. I'm not sure how the Bundesliga is going to be doing financially. But you'd probably imagine if Manchester United were going to go knocking... But well, put it this way. If Manchester United can't afford to buy a player from Borussia Dortmund, then the financial balance in the game really has shifted. I'd imagine they get Jadon Sancho, and I'd imagine that is probably a position where they probably look to improve. Central midfield does feel slightly weak, though. Slightly weak. So can I see him going to Chelsea? No, I really can't. I believe that story. When I look at the Tottenham one, putting aside the Eric Dier thing, which I do think is absolutely ridiculous, but Tottenham would not pay what we want. I couldn't see Tottenham offering West Ham any more than 40, 45 million, something like that. And let's say it hasn't worked out. They do have a very good midfielder in Ndombele. It hasn't quite worked out yet. So out of the 3 stories, despite the fact that the Manchester United one says they don't have any interest in signing Declan Rice, when I look at the other areas of the team, when I look at what Ole Solskjaer's trying to do, and I look at their midfield, I still think out of all the clubs in the Premier League, if anyone had any intent on buying Declan, then it would probably be Man United.